Hi, my name is Erin DiMaggio. I'm the founder and creator of Wonder Woman Unite, a unique player in the health and fitness industry. I want to share a brief history of how Wonder Woman Unite began and some fun little drama that has recently happened and some pushes that I am making in my own life to grow the business and to change Wonder Woman Unite into something new. So first I'd like to start off by how it all began. For those that know me, know that I've had a diverse career in the health and fitness industry. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom of three, raising a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and of course taking care of our dog Cookie. And when I had my third child, David, I felt this deep welling inside of me to start to create programs for moms specifically that include nourishing the mind, body, and soul. So that began with Enlightened Mamas, and it was originally a website where my sole intention was to bring other women together so that we had a safe space on the web to share our personal stories about mothering, and in sharing those stories that we could collaborate and come together and have this experience of knowing that we're not alone on this journey. So it was my first attempt in creating a village. And so I spent about 2 years blogging on Enlightened Mamas, and then I recognized that for me, I was deeply wanting to have physical connections. And so with other women, other mothers outside of parenting and taking care of our kids. And so I started to do this meditation and prayer that I have been doing for the past 8 years. And the prayer is, Heavenly Father, Mother God, given my specific skill set and my abilities, direct me and guide me in how I can be of service to the world. And this idea that I had had ages and ages ago when I was working as a personal trainer and a yoga teacher came back to me. And I saw a vision of women coming together in a sacred space, in a sacred circle, where we would take care of our physical bodies and nourish our souls and connect. And not only connect through sharing of conversations, but also connect by allowing one another to share the deep internal matter and maybe struggles and heartaches that are happening as part of this parenting process. And so I had a vision of creating this space where we would do yoga and meditation, and we would practice mindfulness, and we would do heart-centered sharing and heart-centered listening, and we would hike, and we would be surrounded by nature and one another. And what came up for me originally in this creation and this idea, as I started to try to figure out how do I bring this idea into a physical world reality, and what ended up coming up for me was a lot of old insecurities, old patterns and ideas of unworthiness. And I can't create this. Maybe I need to get more education, more training. And for me, I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, a master's degree in spiritual psychology. I'm certified through Hatha Yoga. I'm a Hatha Yoga teacher. I've gone through over 500 hours of yoga teacher training, and I've done many courses in parent education. So I knew that for me to create something in my home, in my space, in my backyard, I already had the skills and I already had the education. The only thing that was missing was the boost of self-confidence. And I wanted to use the practices of spiritual psychology to assist me in moving into the next step, in the next phase. And the next phase was moving from only doing things online to actually doing things in person with other women. And so I did this meditation process. And in spiritual psychology, we look at everything that happens to us is part of our soul curriculum. So everything that we are going through or experiencing is there for us to serve us so that we can step in to higher elevation and evolve as human beings. So as I noticed that I was having these voices of insecurity and inadequacy, I did what's called inner counselor work. And in inner counselor work, it's all a cognitive process where we tune in to the voices and listen. It's a form of mindfulness. We listen to the voices inside our own head, and we begin to question our belief systems. We begin to question the thoughts that we have and ask, if those thoughts are true. And so as I was having these thoughts of, I'm not qualified enough to lead this group that I had envisioned, my inner counselor asked me, first of all, is this true? And the answer was, no, I have the qualifications, I can do this. And then the second question that my inner counselor asked me was, can you remember a time where you felt like you were good enough? And what came forward for me was this memory of a very long time ago, back in the early 80s. And what I saw in the vision was I was a little girl and I was sitting in front of the television with my two sisters, and we were all dressed in Wonder Woman underoos watching Lynda Carter portray Wonder Woman on the TV. And I remember when I was watching that show, there was no separation between myself and between this image and this portrayal of Wonder Woman. And the moment the show turned off, my sisters and I would go into the garage and we'd put on our roller skates and we would spin and turn in circles, and we embodied in that moment, in that time, all of the qualities of Wonder Woman. We were fearless, we were warriors, we were princesses, we were being it all. And I think for most of us, we can resonate with that memory of, at one point in our lives, really feeling like we had everything inside of us to do everything we needed to do in life, to follow our soul's purpose and our soul's curriculum. And so when I saw that vision, I immediately realized I had everything inside of me to do exactly what I needed to do. And so I thought, I'm just gonna host this first event for friends and family, mostly friends, and I'm gonna call it Wonder Women Unite. And so I already had a pretty big following on Facebook through Enlightened Mamas, and I sent out an invitation to my friends to come over to my house in my backyard, where we would, under the name of Wonder Women Unite, we would do this retreat. And so for the retreat, I got blankets, and I found grabbed out the mats that we had, and I created this space on our basketball court in the backyard where I led everybody through meditation and through yoga, and we did this hike called Trio While You Hike. And during the trio, what we do is we practice heart-centered listening and heart-centered sharing. And so really, I created something where we were doing everything we needed to nourish our mind, our body, and our soul. And I did the first event entirely free, and then everyone that came really loved it, enjoyed it, and they wanted me to do another one. And so I felt really inspired, and I also knew that this was something that a lot of people were really needing and wanting. And so I hosted another one, and the next time my friends showed up and they brought gifts. One of my friends, and she brought me a little Wonder Woman snuggly doll. Another friend had given me a children's Wonder Woman backpack that fit me just perfectly, and another friend brought me a Wonder Woman Barbie doll. And so I started to accumulate all of these Wonder Woman gifts, all gifts that were bought by DC Comics, and I hosted several more events. The first few were all free, and then I began to take donations because more and more people were asking, I really would like to pay for this, because they knew how much work and energy and effort I was putting into the creation of the events. And so after about a year of hosting the events donation only, I decided that it was time to turn it into an actual business, to move from a hobby into a business. So I named it Wonder Woman Unite, and I legally registered it as an LLC. And then I hosted 2 more events, this time for a small fee, and I created a website. And then what has been magnificent and amazing as women from all over my community have been showing up, and I've had groups up to 21 people, and in that group it was this amazing diverse group of women, all shapes, all sizes, all ethnicities, and we were all together united under the name Wonder Woman Unite, but more importantly under this intention of collaboration and community and unity. And so everything had been going along just great, and I started to think about, how can I expand this? How can I create a move into the next vision. And just as I was beginning to contemplate that, I received a letter from DC Comics. And in the letter, DC Comics made accusations against me that I had violated their trademark for the world famous iconic image of Wonder Woman. So you can imagine when I received this after I've been hosting all of these events, I was shocked. And you know, I do yoga and counseling and spiritual psychology, and I like to say my first thought was of peace and blessings, but my first thought was really that I'm gonna gather all my stuff and I'm gonna burn it and I'm gonna film it and this will go viral. And then I sat and instead of gathering my Wonder Woman tapestry and my DC Comics snuggly Wonder Woman doll and all of my other t-shirts that I had purchased through DC Comics, I sat and I meditated and I thought about how this letter was coming to me at really a divine time. Because if we take the skills of spiritual psychology, and in spiritual psychology, the belief is that everything that happens to us is there for us as part of the evolution of our soul. So I began to think about this experience as this is not something that is happening to me, but it's something that's happening for me. And I think Oprah has said this many times, but if I thought of this as, okay, well, I'm getting this letter. They don't want me to use my trademark that I had applied for. They wanted me to abandon that. And they wanted me to take down all of the images that I had on my social media accounts of friends with the Wonder Woman images in the background. So as I began to think about it as something happening for me, I thought about how one of my main goals is to speak courageously, to be authentic and to be real and to be true and to find a peaceful resolution for everything. So then I started to contemplate how can I use this experience as an opportunity to use my voice and to make sure that I'm not being bullied or threatened and to do things out of a choice, as I can choose how I'm going to respond to this situation. So I called DC Comics attorney after I had written a really long letter, and I explained to him exactly what it was that I had been doing in my backyard, in my home. And what was so amazing is that because I had set that intention that I was going to try to create a peaceful resolution rather than fighting this and going into a long battle of right doing and wrong doing, he actually listened. He listened to what I was doing. He listened to the services that I have been providing. And then I think, even though he didn't vocalize this, he realized that I had done nothing wrong. I had not infringed on anything. DC Comics had not lost any money because of the work that I have done thus far. And then after he listened, he explained to me from his perspective what he saw as a representative of DC Comics and somebody that fights to protect the brand of Wonder Woman and protect this precious logo of the Wonder Woman symbol. And so as I began to listen to him, he pointed out that my website was very polished and that he had no way of knowing that I was offering these events in my backyard or the size of the events. And as I began to listen, I could see his perspective, because that is what spiritual psychology is about. And that is what peaceful resolution is about. Peaceful resolution, to come to a peaceful resolution, we have to understand that everybody sees through their own unique spiritual, psychological filter. So we all see through different sets of eyes. This should be so obvious, but it's when we insist that somebody should see things exactly the way that we see it, that's where conflict arises. So as I listened to what he was saying, I realized that my logo wasn't really that important. And also the name Wonder Woman Unite really wasn't that important to me. What was really important to me was that I continue to do the work that I'm doing, that I continue to host retreats, and that I continue to do these workouts, and that I continue to bring women together to nourish their mind, body, and soul. And so I politely asked him to send me a new letter. You know, I said I wasn't okay with these accusations that were made against my good nature and my intentions, because they were wrong. And so I will gladly take down my application for the trademark for Wonder Woman Unite if you write me a new letter. And he did. He wrote me a new letter without any accusations. I took down my application for the trademark because it made sense for me on a business point to, rather than only see myself as somebody hosting these little hobby level events, that I do want to grow this business and I do want to follow a business model in the future. And I hadn't done that thus far because I was only seeing myself through these small microscopic lens. I was only seeing myself as, a stay-at-home mom just hosting these lemonade size events in my backyard. Whereas he and the attorneys were seeing me as a threat to their brand. So I kind of chose to see that as a compliment. And as I chose to see it that way, it's inspired me to work on rebranding and renaming what I'm doing and to look into bigger venues so that I can host these events in bigger spaces and so that I can invite more women that are more diverse and that come from a large economic diverse background, which is really important to me because in my space, in my community where I am right now, there's only I'm limited in how many people I can have to my home and how many people I can invite in my backyard. And so moving forward, I'm not quite sure what we're going to call ourselves, but I will be rebranding. I will be coming up with a new logo, and I am looking into ways that I can step into the next phase of my evolution as a women's group facilitator, as a leader, as a real living Wonder Woman, and as somebody that recognizes and values that every single woman on the planet has a unique gift, a unique soul purpose, and is divinely guided. And the more circles that we create, the stronger we are together. So I would love for you to sign up for the next Wonder Woman Unite. It's coming up January 6th, 8 a.m. to 12. And this one is going to be the last one that I host under the name Wonder Woman Unite. And I'm really excited because my friend Emmy Fenton is going to be sharing her practical magic essentials with her essential oils. And the focus for this next Wonder Woman Unite is going to be arise, align, and anchor.